Welcome back to College Hill Farm. Well, today we're talking about cutting weeds. Now, the modern way to cut weeds is with a weed eater. Weed eater hurts my back to the point that I am unable to use a great big gas-powered weed eater. I bought a push weed eater, big wheel push weed eater, you know, great big, I think a 3.5 horsepower motor, and I've got that, and it does a fine job, but there are places where that's just not an option to get into. Places with heavy vines and things like that, they just wind up in it and get hung. So it's important for a homestead to have other types of weeding devices. Now, when I was a kid, there were no weed eaters. I think the weed eater was invented in 1974. I never saw one till I was a grown man. Okay, my dad bought one, I think back in 1982, and I was 19 years old. And that was the first one I had ever seen. It was a home light, and I think it just used .06 string. The string would break a lot, but it was great for going around the edge of the house or the edge of the sidewalk or things like that. Well, that's pretty much what the electric string trimmers are good for. I've got an electric Bauer one that I really like. It's light enough that it doesn't hurt my back, and it's long enough that I can stand straight up and use it. You've seen me use it here on the channel. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you the different types of weeding things that we use since I was a kid. I still have all of the implements that I used at 12 years old to keep weeds in check. Now, it has been easy for adults to fall into the glyphosate lifestyle. Easy, okay? Especially if you like a perfectly manicured property. It's easy to fall into that glyphosate lifestyle, and that is not good for the environment. It's not good for you. Yeah, it's not good. These herbicides, for example, almost every pro farmer uses herbicides between his corn. If you're eating processed cornmeal, you're eating glyphosate, or one of the others, RD43 or whatever. There's a ton of them out there. Soybeans, they do the same way. My granddad, when he planted corn, he didn't use glyphosate, but back then, I was 12, it was a broadleaf herbicide, and I don't remember the name of it, but it was in granules like fertilizer. Well, he just mixed it in with his fertilizer, and when we planted the corn, we just hand broadcast that stuff. Wasn't no gloves, wasn't no plastic gloves. We were hand broadcasting a weed killer, a broadleaf herbicide, because corn's a grass, okay? Broadleaf herbicides don't affect grass, so we would broadcast this broadleaf herbicide. Of course, we went over with the cultivating tractor too, but we would, at the time of planting, we would broadcast broadleaf herbicide and fertilizer in the same application by hand. Over about 4 acres of corn is what he planted for his chickens. So yeah, even he was using that a long time ago, but we didn't waste that it was expensive, so you didn't waste it on weeds. You know, you kept the weeds down around your house. You cut down weeds in your pathways. You mowed with a push mower. We had a push mower back then. You mowed with a push mower, and but for the most part, you just let the weeds grow. We had a bush hog for our rotary mower, for our IH-140 tractor, but that took a lot of gas, and we didn't see a lot of value in grass, okay, and just having grass. You know, your yard was enough grass. You didn't need to have your whole property be grass like we do today. Today, everybody wants to get a 10-acre property and keep it in smooth grass. I call it recreational mowing. You know, they practice recreational mowing, and it's killing our planet. You know, yeah, we spend billions and billions and billions of dollars in this country keeping grass alive when we could be growing vegetables. I'm guilty too, okay? I'm guilty too. I'm not saying that I'm not. I'm guilty too. So today what we're going to talk about are the different types of hand-powered, peanut butter powered, I call them, peanut butter powered type of weed removal devices. Let's get at it. Okay, the very first of the weed cutting implements that you should have on your homestead is straightforward. It's just a hoe, okay? A hoe is important. Now, I've sharpened this hoe already this year, but I use a pedestal grinder, okay? Somebody asked me, they said, hey, you know, we don't have a pedestal grinder, okay? So what could a person do on the cheap to sharpen their hoe? This is called a flat file. Okay, listen. As it goes across the surface, this is a flat file. It has a file surface on both sides. Every now and then you got to come through with a steel bristle brush and clean out the little grooves, but they're just little bitty grooves. Now you can buy one of these for about $8 or $9, $10 at Ace Hardware or Lowe's or other places. Some people might call them a bastard file, and there's a whole bunch of this, but it's a flat file. And there are a whole bunch of different types of flat files. First off, there's one that just cuts in one direction, which is what this file is. It only has lines that go this way. Okay, so it only cuts as you push down. As I push this way, okay, push like that. It only cuts that way. It doesn't cut pulling back because the lines are not in the right direction. Then there are files that have lines going this way and that way. Okay, it has like little X's all over it. Those files cut in both directions. Okay, now you can put a wooden handle on these. One of these days I'll put a wooden handle on my file, but I've just never needed to have that. So let's talk about what you want to do to get your hoe in good shape. Well, this hoe is pretty sharp already because I've kept it that way all summer. But let me turn you down here a little bit where you can see. Oh. Now, all you have to do to keep this good and sharp, there's a bevel on this side, not on this side. The hoe is flat down here on the bottom. Okay? If we look at the hoe, how it's setting, this is a bevel, this is flat. So you just take your file, you lay it on the bevel so that it lays the same direction the bevel goes, and then you just takes a while. And if you do this, it's not going to hurt it, but it's not going to help it. Okay? The idea here is that you get this tip down until it's very sharp. And you got to press hard. You can't just NIMBY it. Normally I'd chuck this up in a vise and take both hands and do it like this. But I'm not sharpening a hoe today, okay? I'm not sharpening my hoe today. That's not what I set this out to do. I am getting my other weed cutting tools ready. Okay, see there? I've cut that. That's a lot sharper now. The sharper your hoe is, the less work you have to do. The next one in the arsenal, this is called a weed whip. Okay, it comes with a handle, and I'll demonstrate how it works here in a minute. And right here on the edge, it's just like the hoe. This side, there's no bevel, and on this side it's beveled. And you can see over the years, see that? How it's been filed down over the years. This weed whip I used when I was 12 years old. There's another one around here somewhere. I don't know exactly where it's at. I have two of them. I keep one by the front porch in case I just want to quick grab some weeds. But with this weed whip, you've got two options. Now you can take this file and I'm just trying to get the edges. Okay? This weed whip was pretty sharp already. Turn it around, do the same thing. Now, if that's not perfect sharp, okay, you can use the file, though, to get this as sharp as you need it. Okay? Not all of your implements you can do with a file. Now, let's go over here and show you what a weed whip is good for. Okay, a weed whip is good for small grasses, and you can do it one-handed. Okay? For small weeds. Okay, that's what a weed whip is good for. Okay, now the next blade we always called a sling blade, but the truth is it's for mowing grasses mainly, and it's not what the dictionary would call a sling blade. Okay, this is what we call the sling blade in Appalachia. A sling blade is actually something called a Kaiser blade. It's on a long pole, and it's got a sharp curved. I don't have one, okay? I don't have one. I've never had one. That's not something that we used in Appalachia much. But this is what we call the sling blade. It's been in every convict road crew movie you ever saw, okay? This is what they used to clear the roadways when they were using chain gangs. Now, this one is probably 100 years old. All right, it's broke. I will refurbish this in an upcoming video and let y'all see the refurbish of it. This was probably my granny's mom's. So this was probably hers, I don't remember. But I'll have to, you see it's been welded before. And that may have been the original weld, just to be honest. Because back here there's no weld. Alright? There's no weld. And this blade is totally independent of this piece of metal that holds the blade on. So I could take the blade and make a new piece of metal if I wanted to, but I would rather refurbish the whole thing because this metal is good and solid still. The handle is getting pretty dry rotted. Like I said, it's 100 years old. But this is not the only one I used as a kid. That's the one I used when I was at Granny's house. And this is the one I used at Mom and Dad's, okay? I would take it with me if I went up to Paul's to do work because this thing puts a weed whip to shame, all right? It does about the same job as a weed whip, but it's a whole lot more robust. Again, it needs to have these sharp edges. This one's pretty sharp to have been setting all winter, but I sharpened it last year. It's got a little rust on it, but when you start cutting the weeds, that rust will fall off. With this one, you don't always use a file. There's a whole bunch of different files. There's rat tail files and bastard files, but all you have to have is a $10 flat file. Okay, you don't have to go out and invest in a $130 file kit. All right, that's not something that you have to do. Now, since this is already pretty sharp, all I want to do is dress it. This is a soft Arkansas stone. Okay, I buy these big stones. This is a soft Arkansas. You can find one for, I don't know, $15 or $20. I find mine at the flea market. When I find one for 10 bucks at the flea market, I buy one. And I've got 3 or 4. So what I'm going to do, this side's what I sharpen knives with. That's the grit of it. And this side is what I sharpen my cutting tools with. So let's pull this down here and show you what I'm doing. Alright. Now all we want to do is make this so that it feels sharp, because you're going to apply a lot of pressure. It just has to be sharp enough to cut the weeds off. So just take this. Again, rubbing it on that bevel, because one side's not beveled and one side is beveled. You just run it along that bevel. And you'll notice this one, it's thinner in the center because it's been sharpened for the last 70 years or so. But now if you keep them relatively sharp, and everything's got to get oiled up this winter. There we go, there's that side. And you can see how bright it is now? And yes, that feels good and sharp. And it didn't take a ton of work. These are not hard as a knife blade, okay? Do the other side the same way. And you can see the rust coming off on the rock, and you can see the rock dust flying off. A little more. Be careful and keep your thumb and your hand above that, or else you're going to rake your finger across that, and you will not find that funny. Okay, see what it's doing to the stone? These soft Arkansas stones get pitted easy. And every so often, you have to dress your stone. But you want to know something? I don't dress them much. I've never dressed this one, and I've used it. You know, it's getting wore in the center. See there? How it's getting wore in the center? There we go. That's sharp enough. Now I'll show you what this does. See that pile of Johnson grass? Let's get it mowed. A lot heavier duty. Okay, this is the workhorse of my farm. When it comes to weeds, it's fairly sharp. It's kind of rusty. It needs a little attention. It'll get that this fall, a little later. You'll notice it's not, okay, it's not solid here as it used to be. It's probably 100 years old. This is not a grass scythe, okay? We called this a mowing blade. My grandfather called it a bush blade. He had grass scythes, okay, for when they had livestock. But this is not that. This is very heavy, okay? It's short. A grass scythe would come all the way out to here, okay? It would come all the way out to there. And you cut with the front part of a grass scythe. With this, you want to cut with this part. This part makes the initial entry in, but the real cutting is from about here to there, okay? And the way it works, let me get something. The way it works is, as you come into a weed, you hit this part, and then this slides along it, and it puts pressure until it cuts the weed off, okay? That's the way it works. So you want it to go by and slice through. You don't want it to just try and pull it through, okay? You want it to go by and slice through. To help you do that, this handle, let me back up where you can see, this handle is curved, okay? It's curved. And it's made such that you can adjust your handles by unscrewing them a little bit, and you can move them, and it unscrews backwards, okay? It doesn't unscrew, it loosens it by screwing the opposite direction. Now, the way I've got it set is such that when I stand, let me pull you down here where you can see, is that when I stand, it's on the ground over here about 2 feet from me, and I could swing through like that by just swinging my body. I'm not using my arms, I'm just swinging my entire body, okay? And it does a fantastic job as long as it's good and sharp. If it's not sharp, you find yourself going, okay? So it has to be razor blade sharp. This is not a peened scythe, okay? A peened scythe, you take a hammer and you peen along the edge, and that makes the edge really thin. Well, if you do that and you try and cut big weeds, it bends the edge over and your size just dulls right up. This is not that kind of scythe. This is a mowing blade. It needs to have a knife blade sharp, but knife blade thick too. So let's go over here and sharpen this up, and then I'll show you how it's used. Now, unlike the other implements that are beveled on one side, this is beveled like a knife. It's beveled on both sides. Okay? It's beveled on both sides. Now, it's fairly sharp right now. Okay? I don't feel a burr. And as you sharpen it, you will develop a burr on one side or the other. And once you get it there, you just want to knock the burr off, and then you're ready to go. Now, it's very rusty. Okay? I've used it the last 2 or 3 years, and I haven't put a drop of oil on it. That's my fault. But this metal is very heavy duty. You could go buy one of these scythes at an auction or something, and one of these brush scythes. Paul called it a brush scythe or a mowing blade. You could go buy this at an auction or something, 100 years old, and it will clean up just like it was brand new. Now this one is starting to get a little thin right here, right in there. See how the blade should be totally tapered coming down through there, but right in here it's getting a little thin. This is where you make first impact. Okay, remember I told you, it starts cutting about here. This part just kind of drives into the weeds, and it starts cutting about there and cuts all the way to here. Well, this part is not cut down any hardly, but right here it's cut down quite a bit because of the sharpening over the years. So I can use a rat tail file if this is really, or not a rat tail file, but a flat file. If this is really not sharp, but the truth is it's sharp, it's just rusty. And what I want to do is I'm going to knock off that rust and let it sharpen a little, again from this side of the Arkansas stone, not the knife blade side. I'm going to just run this over it. Always push it away from where the cutting part is. I'm going to keep going until I get that rust off the bevel. Okay, you do that on both sides. And again, I'm not pulling this back into the bevel. Okay, you're pushing it away. Always pushing it away. Now I'm going to turn it over. Whoop. Move this around here. And you do this side the same way, but I got to kind of pick it up. Always away from the bevel. Sometimes it's hard to keep your little brain going. But you want to hold it flat to the bevel. Okay, that's a knife blade sharp. Now let's go show you how to use it. Now I have had a year that I've had to let a lot of things go. You know, Crystal's sick and just a lot of things. And I haven't been able to get out and cut all the weeds like I needed to. So, but this is over by the tractor shed. Now the good thing about this is, again, you don't want to be using your arms. You want to swing your body as much as possible and step. See, it just takes out those great big old horse weeds without a whole lot of effort, as long as it's good and sharp. Okay? Now, where I was at there, I had a hard time just getting in a rhythm and swinging. But it takes out these big weeds without too much effort. Okay, those are the implements I use on my homestead to keep down weeds. It's been a tough year for us. Well, my hand grip come loose. Look at there. See, I loosened it a minute ago. Apparently I didn't tighten it back down enough. Loosen it some more. Turn it back up here. Come on, baby. You can do it. There we go. Oh, I did it on the wrong side. There. Oh, I'm loosening. Okay, that's got it back. Now, as far as you finding these implements, you can still buy these new. These too. But you can even buy these new. But the truth is, I don't buy this stuff new. I wouldn't buy it new. When I go to a flea market or something, and I find one of these for $5 or 10, I'll get it. I'm sure one of the boys could use one. Okay? This one's lasted 70 years, 100 years. This one probably 70, and the other one over there probably 100. And they're still good usable. I don't like to use them with gloves. Gloves cause me to get a blister when I use them. So I don't like to use them with gloves. I like to use them barehanded. I know it makes my hands rough. It's just my old hands are rough anyway. So $5 or $10 at a flea market. 25 to 50. I've found these. Of course, a hoe, I buy my hoes at Tractor Supply for about $26. And I buy them with the handles that are fiberglass, so I can leave them out in the field if I feel like it. Okay, I keep one out in the field. That way, if I'm out there doing something, then I can just reach over and get a hoe and go ahead without having to bring a hoe from back here. We have had a tough year, and those of you who follow the channel know we've had a tough year, especially since August of last year. So we're a year in to we're a year in, and we're just starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel. So we're hoping that things can get back to normal on the homestead, but that's not up to us. Do you ever feel that way? Nothing's up to you. Nothing is up to you. Now I've got about, I would say, I've got 30 hours. Oh, squirrel don't like me being here. I've got about 30 hours worth of work with these blades. I can't get to it but a couple of hours a day. My little body won't hold up to it. So I've got about a month's worth of weed cutting, and I still won't be caught up. These are for the places that I can't get my tractor or mower. Okay, I've got a big push mower, but there's a lot of places that you just can't get to with it either. Okay, that rolling wheel push mower, that rolling wheel weed eater, you just can't get to everything with it. And I haven't even started it this year, so I don't know if it will start. So there's that. So I haven't fooled with it much. Yeah, more things to do than I can do, which that's just all right. It'll just have to be all right. If I don't want to live a glyphosate lifestyle, it has to be all right. And if you're triggered by weeds, this is probably not the channel for you. Now, if you like this stuff, this homesteading, do-it-yourself kind of thing, be certain to come on out to the channel and subscribe. We do this homesteading stuff every week, sometimes 1, sometimes 5 videos. Just depends on what we're doing on the homestead that week. Now, if you hit the little bell when you come to the channel, it'll notify you when we upload videos. We upload on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, with the occasional short on Friday and Saturday and through the week. Now, time for me to get on to the next thing. I love you all. It's weed getting time.